Good evening, my name's George. This is Visionary Fragrances. So today we're going to be doing a versus video. So this is going to be Parfums de Marly Oajan versus By Kilian Angels Share. Now you may have heard that these two fragrances are very similar, and you may have even heard that it's redundant to own both. Now I'm not sure I agree with that necessarily, but we're going to talk about the differences between these two. We're going to go over the notes, when I think you can wear them, and which one I prefer, and then which one I'd recommend to you. So grab a glass of whiskey, grab a beer, grab a coffee, sit down, and we're going to talk about By Kilian Angels Share and Parfums de Marly Oajan. Let's go. Now, Parfums de Marly are a fantastic fragrance company. They specialise in rich, balsamic, heavy fragrances, but they do have a couple of fresh ones as well. Their bottles are beautiful. This is actually the Parfums de Marly Oajan. So all the bottles, absolutely exquisite. The cap's extremely heavy. The cap actually weighs almost more than the bottle, I think, on this one. So I really enjoy the Parfums de Marly presentation. I know presentation is not the most important thing, but they've got a really cool history behind the brand. A lot of the fragrances are named after very old historical racehorses, and like I said, the bottles are absolutely stunning. So this is Parfums de Marly Oajan. Killian actually have a really interesting history as well. The bottles are also fantastic, although I actually opt for the refills because I own my own fragrance sample website, visionaryfragrances.com. It's cheaper for me and more cost effective to buy the refills like this. But if you didn't know, the Killian Hennessy, who is the founder of the By Kilian fragrance line, is part of the Hennessy family group that are famous for the cognac. And I think a lot of that experience is embedded into the fragrances. They're very boozy, they're very woodsy, and I think a lot of them are the experience of, brewing cognac in barrels is embodied into their fragrances somewhat. So if you're looking for a boozy fragrance, then By Kilian are a very good fragrance house to go with. But enough about that, let's go on to the Oajan versus Angels Share and which one I think you should buy. Okay, so Parfums de Marly Oajan. Now, if you watched my top 5 Parfums de Marly video, which I will link down below, you'll know that I rated this as a number 1. And this fragrance is very special to me because it was the first niche fragrance that I owned. I'd only collected designer fragrances before, and this was the first niche fragrance that I saved up and bought. So for me, it's always going to have a special place in my collection. I'm always going to own this. And for me, the experience of this changed after, 6 months of owning it. When I first tried it, didn't really understand what was so good about it. I thought it smelled like very similar to Paco Rabanne 1 Million Privé, and just a generic designer fragrance, a gourmand designer fragrance anyway. But after a while, I realised it had a lot more qualities, a lot more depth to it than that. It had a sort of boozy whiskey quality, and that's what I really love about it. It's a gourmand fragrance, so you've got cinnamon and honey as the sort of main top notes, but then you've got benzoin, vanilla, patchouli in the base, and that creates a real boozy whiskey type scent. So if you imagine that you're sat in a whiskey bar, you're sipping on a expensive 15-year-old single malt whiskey, for me that's the kind of smell that this relays. So for me, Oajan is a brilliant gourmand fragrance, and one I'm always going to have in my collection. Now, Oajan is such a nice fragrance to wear. When you spray it on, you get a real hit of the warming honey, the cinnamon, the amber, and it's just a lovely fragrance to wear, especially in the cold weather. If you're thinking we're coming into winter now and you're sat by a fireplace, you're cozied up with your loved one, it's a really nice fragrance to wear. And because of those notes and the kind of booziness of it, I think this actually works really, really well as a date night. So I can imagine going to a nice restaurant, there's an open fireplace there, it's cold outside. I think this works brilliantly as a date night scent because it doesn't expand off the skin massively. It's going to bring the person closer to you. So if you're looking for a perfect gourmand date night scent, then Oajan is the one to go for. Now, performance of Oajan is good. I don't think it's brilliant. As I said just a minute ago, it's not an expansive fragrance, so it is going to pull the other person closer to you. It does last a long time on my skin, but it's not a projection beast or anything like that. It's going to create a sort of aura around you and be a nice delicate skin scent, but it does last a long time. But that's what makes it perfect for a date night, because when you're going on a date, you don't want some huge effervescent fragrance. You want something that's going to sit close to the skin and just wrap you around in a lovely warming scent bubble. Okay, now we're going to move on to Angels Share by Killian. Now there are some crossover of notes between these two fragrances. You're going to have cinnamon in this, you're going to have vanilla, but that's in the base notes. But in the opening, you're hit with a strong blast of cognac. Now, this is what the Hennessy brand is famous for, obviously, is making expensive luxury cognacs. And this is a testament to that experience. So apparently what I read, Angels Share is supposed to be the cognac that is lost or evaporated when you open a barrel. So when you're brewing a barrel of cognac and it's open for the first time, the Angels Share is the bit on the top that evaporates into the atmosphere. So I think it's quite a cool name. I think the history of Hennessy and the By Kilian brand is quite cool, but the opening of cognac is beautiful. And if you're looking for a gourmand, sweet gourmand, boozy fragrance, then I think Angels Share is fantastic. And that's where the similarities to Oajan come into it. But what Angels Share has is this praline note. So that's what gives it this gourmand feel. And praline is a lot sweeter, I think, than the notes in Oajan. The Oajan's got the cinnamon and honey as the main players, but Angels Share adds this praline note to it, which I find gives it a lot more sweetness. So you've got the boozy element, you've got the vanilla, you've got cinnamon, and you've got this praline, so it does smell extremely edible. I find the performance of Angels Share to be better than Oajan. It definitely pushes out more, and when you get that hit of cognac, I find that is very expansive. It really projects off your skin, and for me it's a better performing fragrance. It lasts longer, I find it pushes out more, and I think it's because it's sweeter. It's a really sweet fragrance, and on my skin they work really well. So if you're looking for a fragrance like Oajan, but the performance is better, that's going to project more, then Angels Share by Killian is the one to go for. So back to the question at the start of this video, is owning Oajan and Angels Share redundant? Well, if you've only got a small collection and you only want one boozy gourmand fragrance, then yes, buying both of them they're going to fit the same purpose. But if you're like me and you love those fragrances, you love heavy winter fragrances, you love boozy fragrances, then I don't think owning both is redundant at all, because they are different in their own way to warrant having both. They're not a carbon copy of each other at all. With Oajan, it's much more like a fine whiskey. It's a denser scent. It's a perfect date night fragrance, where I think with Angels Share, it's a louder projecting fragrance. It's more of a going out fragrance, actually. If you imagine going to a nice whiskey bar, or you're going out with your friends, you're going on a night out, I think Angels Share would be the better one to wear. So in terms of are they redundant, if you like this scent profile, then I think absolutely not, and they both have their own place in my collection. I'm finding it really hard to recommend one of these which I'd recommend to you, and I'm trying to be unbiased in terms of my feelings towards Oajan. As I explained before, it's a very special fragrance to me, so I'm trying to forget all about that and just base it on the fragrance, the scent profile, and the price. So we're looking at those things. Parfums de Marly Oajan is definitely cheaper per milliliter. If you're going to get the big 125ml bottle like this, it's going to work out a lot cheaper than Angels Share. And I do actually prefer the scent profile of this. I think it's I like the heavier scent. I find it a bit more interesting, whereas I think Angels Share is a bit too sweet, maybe a bit more, one-dimensional. But for me, Oajan changes on the skin. I love the fact it reminds me of a really fancy whiskey. So if I could recommend one to you, then I'm going to go with Oajan. Hey guys, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you made it this far, please like this video, and I would really appreciate you subscribing as well. Let me know your thoughts on these two. If you could only choose one, Parfums de Marly Oajan or By Kilian Angels Share, let me know which one you would choose. And also, if you can think of any other fragrances that are similar to this, any boozy fragrances that you think I would enjoy, please let me know down in the comments, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care.